We've now been through 3 weeks of performance hell, bouncing through waves of bugs and bots, freezing and crashing all along the way, with players eyeing tomorrow, hoping for a performance update and also wondering where will the game and all of its performance woes send the Helldivers next. Please consider hitting subscribe and ringing the notifications bell, and now let's get into all the latest from Helldivers. We know some of you are experiencing performance issues on the battlefield after this day's patch. You're not imagining. Something is off as a charger leg after getting quadruple tapped by a railgun. Our engineers are working hard to resolve the issue. We'll update you as soon as we know more. The fog clouds inside the gloom are interfering with super destroyer systems across the galaxy. Helldivers are experiencing crashes on high combat rating gloom missions. We have isolated the issue and we are working on a hotfix as we speak, but until this fix is tested and ready, we are temporarily disabling certain enemies inside the gloom to stop these crashes. You will still be able to play missions and it will count towards MO progress. While I'm here, regarding performance, we are 100% aware performance ain't great now. We're tracking closely and have numerous things in motion. We'll be sharing details on what we'll do in the not too distant future. We appreciate the patience until we get back our usual performance. Now, for those of you who don't know, quote number 1 was way back from April 2024, just a few months after the game launched, from then Arrowhead community manager Twinbeard. Baskinator dropped the Gloom enemies announcement in February 25, followed up by the CEO himself, Shams Jorjani, in April, which leads us into today's write-up from GameRant. Helldivers 2's performance is still getting worse, and players aren't happy. Helldivers 2 players are sharing their ongoing frustrations as performance problems continue to worsen. The performance of Helldivers 2 has been a hot topic in the community for a while now, but the issues only seem to be mounting up for players. With each major Helldivers 2 update, more content makes its way into the game, often featuring planets, enemies, and stratagems intended to be bigger and better than the ones that have come before. However, this has seemingly come at a price, with players for a while now complaining that this is causing the performance to dip. So far, the response from Arrowhead Game Studios is that every update should contain its own optimizations, slowly improving the performance over time as opposed to one big performance patch. Right now, though, players aren't impressed by the results of this approach. Right now, the Helldivers subreddit is filled with threads where players are complaining about performance issues getting worse on all problems, with many noting that they're at their worst when fighting Helldivers 2's automatons. Many videos show not just FPS drops, but severe stutters that completely freeze the game for multiple seconds at a time in the midst of the action. In a game like Helldivers 2, these stutters can be the difference between life and death. These escalating threads are an indication that player patience is perhaps wearing thin. I would agree with that statement. In one, a player said that, quote, "These problems are pushing me into another long break until they stabilize," while another said that, quote, "My wallet is now very closed to them," meaning Arrowhead, unfortunately. It's not clear exactly why players are finding that these issues are getting worse, but many throughout these threads point at a notable decline following Helldivers 2's Into the Unjust update. Frame rate and stuttering performance aren't the only areas of the game earmarked for improvements by the community. Helldivers 2's bloated PC file size remains an issue for users on the platform, so it's clear that Arrowhead Game Studios still has a lot of work ahead of it. Whether it can improve the performance to acceptable levels remains to be seen, but right now, many players aren't impressed. As always, check in the video description for a link to this article and all of today's sources, and I've got to say that I too was seeing the crazy performance issues last week and into this weekend while in those bot missions, specifically on Mintoria. I would drop in with the squad and immediately see my frames drop like 15 to 20 just because, and it wasn't like there was a lot going on with Mintoria. It was nighttime. There really wasn't anything crazy in terms of the 12 layers of fog we usually see in most of our missions. And as soon as someone would set off a huge boom or we got into a really crazy firefight with a bot drop, it would freeze and unfreeze. You could still hear the sounds, and Discord was working perfectly, but the game controls were just lost. Sometimes I would live through it, sometimes I would unfreeze and see pieces of my diver laying all over the place, and in the end, just to grab some bot footage, we finished up our campaign and then would hop over to 𝗀𝗃 4, which for the most part was pretty stable. Definitely drop a comment about your experiences ever since Into the Unjust went live back on September 2nd. What sort of dips in performance have you been seeing? Was it drastic? Nothing at all? Sound off and let's see where the community lands on this one. Now, we've spoken about that famous AI update, which dropped into the game back in March of this year and how it instantly pulled down performance. And as I look back at the update here again, this was a trade-off that has proven to not be worth it. Here's what they said when it first launched. A recent software autopsy has revealed an update to the automaton's situational awareness protocol. They are now less distracted by each other, increasing their reaction speed in large groups. We've increased the number of AI calculations the game can perform. This primarily impacts scenarios with a high number of spawned enemies, improving their response times in those situations. However, here's where they say it, this comes with a slight trade-off in game performance. I'm going to be checking through your comments and feedback because unlike what the GameRant article just said, where most of the freezes were apparently isolated to automaton planets, I've been seeing those freezes beginning just as soon as Into the Unjust went live. As you can see from this footage, I snagged on 𝗲𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗃 Prime while the 𝗔𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 campaign was first kicking off.
Mag's empty!
Crazy, right? As you're just left there frozen in place and helpless. And my guess here is that whatever was pushed into the game back in March in terms of that AI update was made 100 times worse with Into the Unjust and when that went live. But to that point, we've been seeing borked out sounds in the super cities for a long time now, right? Especially when firing full auto weapons, and I specifically remember hearing it and just it sticking out like a sore thumb while rocking the 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Overall, my game's performance was okay when the Heart of Democracy update was here. I'd drop a few frames here and there, but the system would quickly recover. Not like it was before the AI update, but still, it was way better than what Helldivers are seeing now, freezing in place or crashing out of games completely. I'd also throw in here that sometimes when I'm playing, the game will just randomly jump to my desktop as it minimizes the entire game while I'm still in the heat of battle and I have to frantically jump down to the taskbar and maximize my image and bring the game back. Which brings us to the future. I know, kind of an ominous and rather broad topic, but think of it as a discussion about priorities and moving forward with Helldivers 2. So here's a series of 5 pain points I put together centered on performance that Arrowhead needs to be laser focused on. Number 1, the AI update. The description said a slight trade-off in performance, but bro, it's been anything but slight. Many of us saw a 15 to 20 FPS drop the second that update went live. Plus, I'm not seeing anything I would characterize as better automaton reaction speeds. It's time to cut that update out of the game and revert to whatever was in place before it was installed. Number 2, sound design and sound effects in general are still all over the place. With a game like Helldivers, where you can have fast-moving enemies coming at you from a 360 all around your position, having functional spatial sound is crucial. Much like the AI update, there was a large sound design overhaul that did more harm than good. The game needs to revert to that pre-audio profile and then build up from there. Number 3, the freezes are insanely bad, and they hit with no warning. Now, you've seen clips of just how bad it can get, and that is happening on more than just an isolated automaton planet. Something in the Into the Unjust update has triggered this overload effect, and it has to be identified immediately. In this point, we also have to include the crashes. They are better, I'll give you that, but still happening more than they should. Number 4, and I don't see this one mentioned at all within the community, but there are times during a mission that rounds fired from my weapon travel through targets while inflicting no damage, almost like the game has desynced badly. I'm sure I'm not the only one seeing this, and it sometimes clears up by switching to my sidearm, firing a few shots, and then back to my primary, but it needs to be identified and fixed ASAP. And number 5, we need a roadmap. And just being honest here, as bad as the game's performance currently is, we should be getting daily performance updates from Arrowhead. You know, like, we've identified the cause of this, we found that, expect a fix in X amount of days. Instead, we've been met with complete calm, dark silence. Even the PC lockup issues, which were brutal, have never been added to the known issues board, and they still exist. We as players need this, Arrowhead, so whatever the normal method of writing up a post and going through all the legal red tape for review and approval needs to be sped way the hell up. Since September 2nd, what was that, 3 weeks ago? We've seen the game receive a new update and new war bonds bookending that effort, but on the flip side, the performance has hit rock bottom. The Terminids should be the focus right now, especially after Into the Unjust dropped. But with the Rupture Strain host issues, they've been sent back to the drawing board for 5 weeks. And if you take a look at 𝗛𝗲𝗋𝗃 right now, even though it's still available to dive on, nobody is there taking on the new content, which to me says there were far deeper issues with that planet and the new content than just the Rupture Warriors. We also just got ragdolled, frozen, and tossed from squads trying to fight back the bot advance all the way up to Mintoria. And with tomorrow coming, meaning a possible patch and a new major order, we need the studio to find some of that Arrowhead magic and get this thing back to a functional, enjoyable, and stable state. In fact, as we wrap this one up, that's a great question for chat. A, do you think Arrowhead uncorks a new performance update tomorrow? And B, what do you think the new major order will be, seeing as how we've hit the bugs and bots in rapid succession? Drop a comment and let's see what you've got to say on that one. If you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my future upload alerts. I know there's a lot of new diver recruits out there still looking for a home and squads to dive in with. So check in the video description and pinned comment for the link to my Discord server, where we've got an experienced squad ready and willing to assist. Thanks so much to all of our current channel members, and until the next one, this is Lieutenant 𝗙𝗶𝘆𝗹𝗶𝘀𝗂𝗏 signing off.